Dick drops the hammer. Now, it looks like he's coming on him, Richard.
What's up? Welcome back to Botttom Dead Center here exclusively on the Old School Monster Trucks YouTube channel. So you see myself, you see Matt Looker. Wow, do we have some stuff in store for you here. So we are coming to you with a multi-part interview with Jim Kramer and his wife, Julie, also joining in on part of the conversation. And we're really stoked to welcome both of them to Botttom Dead Center. So while you may see a peppering of other more conventional Botttom Dead Center episodes, throughout the coming weeks, these are special episodes with Jim and Julie that we're breaking off into their own standalone shows. So no normal tomfoolery here at the start of Botttom Dead Center. But Matt, as we're introing these videos, of course, we've already got the interviews now behind us. And we don't want to spoil too much of it, but I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts with a little of the afterglow of how cool this interview was and how generous Jim and Julie were, giving us the better part of a day, it felt like, to interview them.
Man, it was, like you said, exhausted at the end of it because it was such a long but amazingly good interview conversation. I mean, who could you ask for to give more, to have more of a wealth of knowledge at one of the top teams, the original team, throughout the years? It's going to be a really great one for everyone to hear, I think. I know I enjoyed it.
There was a lot of laughter, which made me super happy because, the topic of Jim and his driving career at Bigfoot has been mined pretty heavily over the years. And you got to bless his soul for how willing he is to kind of rehash some of the same topics over and over as time goes on. And he always seems to still have some new twist or interesting thing to add to it. But today we really got into, and for both parts of this episode, or however many parts it shakes out being, we really got into the personal side of things with Jim and what his experiences were like through his eyes and through the eyes of Julie as well. And I don't know about you, but I find that almost just as interesting, if not more so, than how much he liked Bigfoot 4 and how much he hated Bigfoot 3.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about this episode with Jim and Julie, in entertainment and monster truck specifically, there's a lot of marriages that don't work out just because of the nature of it. But theirs is a story that not only worked out, but they seem like just a fantastically strong couple together while Jim was at the forefront of Bigfoot back in its heyday and throughout the years. But, in the years where it was up and coming and really building a name, seeing them have a great relationship through it is something really special, I think.
No, they certainly are a special couple. They work together as quite the team, and really they've always been that way, and they've always had to be that way with the responsibilities that he's commanded in his professional life, but also how loyal of a person he is to his family at home. And they're a fun family, I can tell you that. I mean, they helped me ring in a birthday one year in Alton, Illinois. And let's just say there's some fuzzy memories at the end of the night, because I tell you what, if you're going to go out to battle at the bars with the Kramer family, I'm telling you, buddy, you better pack your lunch. They are a hoot, and we laughed so much in this episode. It was great. I mean, I'm as tired from smiling and laughing as I am for anything. So, like we said, welcome to the show. Welcome to one of our many parts of this interview with the Kramer duo of Jim and Julie. We hope you enjoy it. Leave some comments down below for us. Let us know what you think of it. And be sure to like and subscribe if you're not already to OSMT here on YouTube. But on behalf of myself, Matt Looker, and all of our crew at BDC, we hope you enjoy these episodes with Jim and Julie Kramer. And we'll see you in the future. We'll see what 2026 has in store for us at OSMT. Thanks, guys. Enjoy. Hey, welcome back to Botttom Dead Center here exclusively on the OSMT YouTube channel, Old School Monster Trucks. And I'm telling you, I could not be more honored and excited to be bringing you guys our special guest you see on screen with me today. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Matt Looker, from the remote reaches of upstate New York. And then The one, the only, the man doesn't really need an introduction, but we're giving him one anyways because that's what he's paying us for, Mr. Jim Kramer of Bigfoot. Jim, welcome to Botttom Dead Center, and thank you for jumping on with us today. How the hell are you?
Hey, I'm doing real good. Suffering through a little bit of bad weather here, but I guess everybody's got that across the country.
We sent that your way here from Wyoming. I apologize for that.
Well, I really appreciate that, Kyle. You always do wonderful things.
Yeah, I mean, I only send nice gifts your direction, Jim. So we're recording on Monday, December 1st. What a hell of a way to start off the month having you on the show. How was your guys' Thanksgiving break, so to speak? I saw you guys had some family things going on and whatnot, and looked like a really good time out there.
Oh, I was. I had the kids come over. My wife cooked all day Thursday. We had everybody come over Friday, and she had me helping her out. And we had a great time. A lot of leftovers, which I like. Hey, when you got a 17-pound bird, though, you're going to have some leftovers. But it was a great
absolutely.
time. Everybody got along good, as we always do. And, it was fun.
So we're going to talk about family a little later in the show because, like I was telling you off air before we got started, we like the nuts and bolts and the technical stuff about monster trucks and monster truck history. But really, we're endeavoring on this show to tell, the personal story and the human side of people's experiences. And one thing that always struck me when I got to work with you at Bigfoot was just how tight-knit your family is. Your family is so spectacularly tight-knit. Everyone has like a really good shared sense of humor. And you guys are just, you're a crew of best friends. And that's certainly how Robin and I have tried to grow our little family here, and no doubt inspired by what you guys do. So I imagine that if your stomach hurts at the end of Thanksgiving at the Kramer house, it's as much from filling up on food as it probably is from laughing. Am I right?
Oh, that's true. And what really gratifies us is my two kids, Kate and Russ, they get along famously. I mean, there was a time in their childhood they hated each other, but they got over that. And everybody grew up and had families. And my nephews and nieces all get along. Like my 16-year-old nephew will go to my niece's 8-year-old niece's basketball game. I mean, they care about each other and they interact well. And it's just a good time from start to finish.
Is on the Old School Monster Trucks Instagram page, we have a bracket running where we're trying to decide who the coolest monster truck in history is in all of our opinions. So what I'm saying to you is, if you had a Thanksgiving side dish bracket going, who's winning your bracket? I know mashed potatoes and gravy is winning my bracket. Looker, you probably got an Italian dish winning yours, but Jim, talking on Thanksgiving, who's winning your Thanksgiving best side dish bracket?
Man, I tell you what, cranberry relish.
Oh,
my wife makes a kick butt cranberry relish.
Nice.
It gives me heartburn, and I eat it anyway.
As you should. That's awesome. All right. Well, we'll kind of get into the more serious side of our time with you now to maximize, your generosity, giving us some time today. But Looker, jump in at any point too, because you know how I run away with the questioning, the interrogation on these things. But Jim, I'm going back to some notes I took a couple years ago when you and I started working on, kind of a written piece that we eventually want to collaborate on, talking a little bit about your history. But when we had Tim Hall on our most recent episode, he was talking a lot about how his father and his upbringing, kind of built him and Mark's mindset to be tough and to be resilient and to be, creative in how they went about starting their racing career. So let me get back to telling us a little bit about, where were you born? Where were you from? And did your family environment have anything to do with shaping who you became as far as a professional in the monster truck industry years later?
Well, I was born in St. Louis. I was number 11 out of 12 kids. And I was the first child born in a hospital.
Oh, wow.
My mom gave birth to 10 kids at home in her bed. And the doctor was there sometimes. He usually got there late. And he cleaned up the baby. He says, Helen, don't worry. I'm not going to charge you nothing. I didn't do anything. So anyway, I was born in St. Louis, lived in Florissant, the suburbs of St. Louis. And that's where I was born and raised. And did my family help shape me? Yeah. I mean, I was born in a crowd of people.
How did you stand out, and be heard and be seen and, get some attention from mom and dad with their bandwidth spread across so many kiddos?
It's, I don't know. I guess I was just being me. A lot of times I just, I was given a task and I worked hard and did the task, and that got me noticed. And I was always try to hang around my older brothers and some older sisters, because you can learn a lot from your older siblings. You really can. But I don't know what I did actually to nothing special, I guess. Just try to blend in with the crowd, basically. And believe me, when you have older siblings and they all worked, my family was workers. My dad passed when I was almost 9 years old. He passed away, and my mom raised us all in a little house. And this was the deal. Kyle, you and I talked about this. Everybody helped support each other. And you got a job, you made money, half the money went to the house. The other money was yours. My mom was very good about that. When you got half that money, it was yours. You do with it what you want. Now, she might advise you what to do with it, but she never told you what to do with it. And I learned the hard way
She never told you to not buy car parts,
and I learned
right?
the hard way that I should listen to her more because she was much wiser than I was on my money expenditure. I tell you that. But anyway, that's the way it went. And when the older sibling got married, of course, they moved off, and the rest of us just picked up, and we were able to sustain a household and get our school supplies and food and transportation and everything else. We all just chipped in and we helped just keep each other going. And that breeds resilience. That breeds independence and resilience and a hard work ethic. If you didn't work for it, you didn't get it. I didn't have a big brother giving me a car. I didn't have a big sister go out and buy me this. No, you got money? That's what they say. You got money? Yeah, okay, spend it. But in all in a good way.
How'd you guys make ends meet?
I wouldn't change anything about it. But it was just a different way of life.
So how did you guys make ends meet though? Were you, because I know we had talked, you had done some farm work and things like that, but especially for your mom, how were you guys able to make ends meet?
Well, we made ends meet just like what I told you. We all chipped in. My mom, of course, for a while, when she was still raising some of the younger of us, she couldn't work. But when she got us far enough along where we could somewhat take care of ourselves, she went and got a job. And she worked, believe it or not, raised 12 kids, and she went to work in the nursery watching kids.
Oh, wow.
And then later on, she quit that job, went to work in an old folks home, take care of old people. And she come home with the damnedest stories. Oh, this old guy did this, and this gal did that. And I says, Mom, you're older than all those people. These old guys, the way she put it, But she was very active. She died at 89, and she was active the whole time, sharp as the tack. And that's the way she lived her life. She was a doer.
She seems like she had to have been a very nurturing person. Just obviously raising, a brood of kids that big, but then also caring for other people. That lady sounds like she sure had a lot of, a big heart, a lot of love and a lot of care to give. And I'm certain a lot of patience. If she's raising a rowdy young Jim Kramer, she definitely had to have some patience.
Okay. That just wasn't me. The other siblings are a little, but this is my mom. Our house was a house of respect. You respected your mother. My mom hardly ever raised her voice to me or any of the other kids. All she had to do was look at you, and she'd melt you right there. You felt so bad for disappointing her that you didn't do that again. And she was, I call silent but deadly. She just look at you and, yeah, you're dead.
So the whole household always pulling in the same direction and things like that. But as you get, a little bit older, kind of tell me about when you started to notice automobiles in general or cars or mechanical things, and how did they catch your fancy?
Well, mechanical things, when I was 13 years old, I worked at, for a guy, Earhart Tool and Die Company of St. Louis. He had a big mansion about a mile up the road from where my farmhouse was. And when the kids got older, everybody kind of filtered through there, cut grass, trim trees, picked fruit. I mean, he had quite an elaborate place up on the Missouri River. Beautiful place. And of course, it takes machinery to do all that. And they had people up there, you know, to run the machinery and stuff like that. And I'm out there doing all this menial stuff. But then I graduated to driving tractors and doing all this other stuff. So that got me interested in things mechanical because it had our own maintenance program up there. And my brother, he was a car guy. He had a 57 Chevy. Had an old 40 Ford with a 392 Hemi in it. Put a 392 Hemi in an old 40 Ford. And used to drive it and had an electric fuel pump on it. Well, the electric fuel pump would short out or something. So we put a wire through the dash to the electric fuel pump. And the motor started to sputter. I'd shake the wire. Okay. You get the fuel pump going.
Jim, now I had something in my notes about your mom's Chevy Nova. You tell us about that unit?
No, I don't want to tell you about that. It's too incriminating.
Oh. Statute of limitations is passed,
It was a 292 3-speed, and put it mildly, I run the hell out of it. You know, there was a lot of Mustangs running around with 300 cubic inch engines in it, and we raced them all the time. And it's pretty hard in that car, but you know, I wasn't the only guy. I was about the third sibling to get it. But hey, whatever I broke, I fixed. You know, that was the thing. Right. We did that. But the car got me in a lot of trouble most times, or I got myself in a lot of trouble with that car, I should say.
So tell us a couple things that you may or may not have allegedly done with that car.
I might allegedly, in a drunken stupor, try to pull a friend of mine out of a ditch with a Nova, and I can't remember any of it because people were telling me that's what I did. And I got home and I was mud from my head to my feet, right? So I staggered in the house, allegedly, and hopped in bed, pulled the covers up over, and I went to sleep that way, full of mud.
Oh, man.
My mom comes and knocks on the door in the morning. She's pretty subtle. She is just, hey, when you get up, clean this up. And clean up my car. Okay. So I got up, cleaned everything up, go out, clean the car up, and I noticed the right rear tire. I just put 2 new tires on this thing. The right rear tire was bald.
Oh, no.
I go, holy mackerel. I must have really tried to pull that guy out.
So you were one-legging her trying to get that guy out of the ditch then.
That's exactly right. No 4x there, man. So anyway, cleaned up the car, went down to tire dealer and got a tire right away put on. And for some reason, the car came out pretty much unscathed. It got a little dirty in a bald tire, but, you know, it was okay. But otherwise, you know, I didn't.
I'm starting to see some flashes of you know how you became such an aggressive and successful monster truck driver. Even early on, you were a calculated risk taker, I would say.
Yeah, I was stupid. I think it puts it in a nutshell. I did some stupid shit, but hey, everybody does. Just most people don't talk about it, you know. But guys like you try to pull it out.
Well, we are. This is the kind of stuff that we're here for, man. I haven't seen Matt and I laugh this hard on the show since we started this thing, so this is brilliant. Speaking of seeing trends, your next car, or one of your next cars I have in my notes is a 69 Chevelle SS, guaranteed not to get you in trouble. So I see there's a General Motors thread weaving through your mechanical history here, and then you get to the Chevelle. Tell me a little bit about that unit.
Well, as a General Motors thread starts with my brother's 57 Chevy. You know, that's why, you know, 1843657 Chevrolet firing order. You know, you just grew up with it. And got the 69 Chevelle. I was a senior in high school, and I drove my first day to high school in a brand new 69 Chevelle. And guys go, what'd you do, rob a bank? No, I worked my ass off 2 summers.
It had the 396 in it? Is that right?
Well, it was 69, 68, 69. It was everybody was cruising.
You're good.
You know, everybody had a cool car. Everybody was cruising. That was just what went on. That was your, I guess, your social life, basically.
We're kind of getting into the early 70s now. Is that right, Jim? When did you guys meet for sure?
Yeah, it was
November 1969.
Yeah, as my wife
Good save, Julie.
correctly, November 1969. Married 49 years.
Yep.
You were 7 years before we got married. Did I cover everything, dear?
Yeah.
Oh, that's outstanding. So,
No, 7 wonderful years.
Oh, 7 wonderful
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget that.
that's right.
Yeah, before we got married. See, that was wonderful years, right, dear?
Ever since that first wonderful steak and shake date, it's been wonderful. So, help me understand now. So you're coming out of high school, you're getting into the real world. You've met Julie. Where's life taking you? You know, where do you see yourself going, and where'd you try going?
Well, I come out, high school. I worked in gas stations the whole time I was in high school. Actually, one summer I worked from 6 in the morning to 2 o'clock at one gas station, from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night in another gas station. So I did a lot of mechanical work in there, and it come out and kind of did landscaping in the summertime because it paid really well. Green side up, landscaping, sod. Hard physical work, but it paid well.
Mhm.
And then I start, the draft actually. I was 18, of course, went down for my physical and got my number 4A. And I went through 3 different iterations of the draft. And I got high numbers in each one. Now, I'm a shit gambler. I can't gamble. I never won anything in my life, but I won 3 lotteries.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have to go. I always said if they want me, they can draft me. I'm just not going to join. I got a new car. I got a girlfriend. I got a job. I said, I'm just not going to go. They want me, they can grab me. But they never did. And then I was in a pretty bad motorcycle accident, broke my arm in half. And so they called me down to get rechecked because I don't know what there was on their mind. But I walked in and my arm was hanging there and go, you go stand over there. so they kicked me out of the draft altogether, which was all right. Anyway, back to the mechanical issue. I did a lot of mechanical work over the years, and I got a job, applied and got a job. I wanted to work for Union Electric. I wanted to be a lineman. I really did. And I'll back up some more. Coming out of high school, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be a geologist.
Oh.
I really wanted to be a geologist. Back then, geologists were making good money. They didn't have all this fancy machinery now. They went out and did the tests in the field, and I liked working out in the field. And I thought that would be very interesting to do. It always interested me. And anyway, I come into high school, I talked to my counselor, and I said, I want to go to college, And I actually took a couple of college entrance exams, and I passed. I could have got in.
Hmm.
But counselor looked at me and says, best thing you can do, son, is get a job. I remember 11 out of 12 kids were poor. We got no money. I should be a poster child for help, right? Sign me up. No, they kicked me to the curb. So I put out my applications. I got a job at a heavy construction equipment company. Now this guy says, I'm going to come out and watch you work. So he would come to the gas station at night. The guy who ran the service department at this company, LI Construction Equipment. He'd come out a couple of nights to just watch me work, interact with people and tune up cars and all that stuff. He goes, okay, I'm gonna hire you. So I hired on there, and within a year, I had my own 1-ton service truck, fully equipped, working in a 3-state area, fixing heavy equipment. My forte was backhoes and cranes. I did some asphalt equipment, some air compressors, but mainly big backhoes and cranes. And I travel all over the 3 states. So independence again. I grew up kind of be independent, and you just go out there and you might be gone a week, take care of yourself, stay all over different places, get to know these people. And man, I've made a lot of friends in the construction equipment business. I really did. And so much so they'd call up to send Jim out. Well, Jim's busy. When's he not going to be busy? Be 3 days. Send him out in 3 days.
Well, wait.
And I'd go out, and I had a really good rapport. One time, this guy called up and says, hey, send him over. Okay. So I go over there. I said, what are we going to do today? He goes, nothing. You're going to ride around with me. We're going to look at equipment.
Nice.
So I got paid to
Awesome.
ride around and just look at equipment and just shoot the breeze with it. He says, yeah, I thought last time I saw you needed a break. So he paid full tilt for me to ride around with him. And I got really good with the union over there. I'm in the Missouri union. I work in Illinois 90% of the time. And every time you go over there, you got to call up. You got to tell them where you're going. You got to pay a Adobe fee to be able to go work. They don't just let you go across the river and work. So I'd be calling in, and got to know those people over there pretty well. And I call them up, tell them, oh, tell you what, Jim, just call me on Friday and tell me where you've been. So I call them up on Friday and tell them I got these 3 jobs here and there. He says, okay. Then it got to be where, yeah, well, just don't worry about it. So they would let me go over there and work in their union because I got to know the people at the union hall. And they would invite me to their dinners. The union hall have a big dinner. They'd invite me. Yeah,
That's a high compliment.
we're having wine and cheese and stuff like that. It's a good time. It'll be a great time. So I go over there and I go to these things. Just a really good bunch of people, though. But you treat them right, they treat you right. I never try to ever underhand them.
Yep.
I always made sure I called in, did what I was supposed to do. But the construction equipment company it sent me to Wyoming, set up 2 very large machines in a coal mine out there, $1 million machines, set them up. They come in on 7 tractor trailers, and you had to put them together. You have a crane and a crew of guys, and you were supervisor putting all this stuff together and getting it running, teach them the maintenance on it and stuff like that, how to properly operate or controls. And they were operators. I wasn't. I got to where I could operate pretty decent just playing around. But anyway, that was my job for a long time. And this all kind of bled into Bob Chandler. He moved in next door to me. That's a whole nother story. But it bled into Midwest four-wheel drive because I would work at construction equipment all day when I was in town. At night, I would work at Midwest four-wheel drive at night. He'd take in a lot of work, then I'd finish up the work at night. He went home. And my wife looked at me and said, I didn't marry you to live by myself. Now, I literally didn't see her 4 hours a day.
Right.
On a good day when I wasn't out of town. And on weekends, of course, we're doing four-wheel drive stuff. So she had a steady diet of four-wheel drive, and I think she was drowning in it. And so anyway, I said, okay, Bob, I used to be a part owner of that. I sold out my percentage to Bob and Maryland. They bought it out. And back when it was nothing, I mean, the gas crunch was on and everything, the four-wheel drives were in the shitter, basically. So I sold out and just stayed working at Allied Construction Equipment. Well, I started a number of years, let's see, I think 77, I quit and went back in 81. And in the meantime, Bob had number one, and he took it to a show and put the front end on a set of cars and you know the story.
Yeah.
It got popular, right? So he said, man, I need another truck. And I need somebody that can trust driving this truck. So he come knocking on my door. Jim, you got to come back to work with me. I said, man, no way, man. I quit once because my wife. I'm not going to go back. He goes, oh, no, you're the only guy I trust doing it. And he was serious. And so my wife and I sat down. We had a talk. We both grew up in those, period of years where I was gone. And she said, if you really want to do that, go ahead. We'll make this work. Could not have done it without her help. I mean, she had to take over back home when I was gone.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, I went back to work, and I went and talked to my service manager at Allied. Says, yeah, I'm gonna take a year's leave of absence. He goes, what? I said, yeah, I'm gonna go to work at four-wheel drive shop. He said, well, I know you've been doing that, but you got a service manager's job in the next year. I'm gonna quit. He says, you got this job. I go, I appreciate that, but I'm gonna go do this. So I took a big step, and I really didn't want his job. It's a thankless job. Anyway, went back to Bigfoot. And I says, and we figured, got my withdrawal card, and Bob and I talked about it. 2 years, flash in the pan. You see a monster truck once, you're not going to want to see it again. Been there, done that. It'll be over in 2 years, and I'll just go back to doing what I was doing or find something to do. And of course, that didn't happen. It just steadily grew from there. But that's the story about the how I basically got involved wholly in Bigfoot was that way.
Well, let me back up and ask you. So, what was it like? And I love hearing Julie's thoughts from off camera as well too. What was it like having Bob and Marilyn? Did you move into their neighborhood, or they moved into your neighborhood? But what was it like, being neighbors and realizing you both had a shared interest with the 4-wheel drive stuff?
Well, I mean, we lived close. We lived in an apartment about a mile and a half away from Midwest 4-wheel drive, basically, and before it moved to the Lindbergh location.
This was Ferguson area, right?
Ferguson area, yeah. And I don't know. We didn't do a lot of stuff. I mean, Bob and I were doing a lot of stuff together. I don't think Julie and Marilyn didn't do a lot of stuff together off of Bigfoot.
In the early days, though, when you and I,
I'm getting caught up here. Hang on.
You're good. You're
no,
good.
we used to run, we used to go camping with the Chandlers.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm thinking business now. We did a lot of camping with them, a lot. I mean, went to Mexico. I mean, with them, California, Mexico, Perry, Missouri, the local haunt around here. All the 4-wheel drive guys went up and we camped a lot. But yeah, in that respect, outside of work, in that respect, yeah, we did a lot of stuff with them at first.
So that short bed Chevy truck you had, were you guys running a camper out of the bed of that, or what was your setup?
Oh, we tried. Put a big ass camper on this little short bed, right? And had the suspension beefed up and knock your teeth out, but it would sit level and hold the camper. But we did that, and then later on got a little pop up tent camper that you towed behind. Had a Bronco back then, '78 Bronco. But used to tow that, just flip it out where you park it in the woods there, flip it out, and then go 4-wheeling.
There you go.
That was our. I didn't like laying on the ground in the tent, man. Them rocks would hit you in the back. So, yeah, I'm not doing that. So we went for the camper, which was awkward, and it limits what you could do. You couldn't go 4-wheeling. You had to go sit, and play in the river with your camper. With your camper on your truck, you could use your truck to play. So that didn't last a long time. It was just a pain in the butt.
Well, you talk about playing in the river, then we got to bring up the Black River in Missouri there, because that seems like where you guys haunted that part of the state for a long time with your 4-wheel drives and even up into the Bigfoot years. But I seem to recall having seen you get up to some pretty serious shenanigans with not one but 2 Broncos, if I'm not mistaken, right? A first gen and a second gen full size Bronco down there, and it looked a little hairy. Is that right?
Yeah, I love that little. Had a '74 Bronco, 302 automatic, 410 differentials, front and rear, limited slip. Ordered that, man. That was a little beast. I'm telling you, it would go about anywhere. Great for snow plowing, put a 6-foot snow plow on it, and go to these big hospitals downtown and plow sidewalks. And steps and everything else. I just go down the step with the snow plow. But anyway,
It's great.
I mean, I wouldn't chip it. I have kept it up a little bit so it wouldn't chip anything. But anyway, that little thing served me well. We're down in Lesterville one time and we built a bumper for it, because Bob and I built bumpers at his house there on Plantmore. Built a bumper for it, put an 8,000-pound Warren winch on it. It was down in, it's actually Perry, Missouri, where we hung it out of a tree. He says, well, see how good this winch is. Even though Bronco only weighs about 3,500 pounds, this thing's 8,000-pound winch. Put a snatch block on it, it doubles that. This would be like a piece of cake, right? So I climb up this giant oak tree and hook the snatch block up there, run the cable through and put it down and winch that Bronco up in the air. We had a tire carrier in the back. So it was going to take,
Great.
we had about 6 guys just hold the Bronco off, back up until we raised it up enough where it was swinging underneath and wouldn't take my tire carrier off.
Oh, wow.
And put it out and got a bunch of pictures. The only thing leaked out was a little bit of automatic transmission fluid, believe it or not. I mean, just a little bit. Otherwise, it was tight.
So do those same 6 guys have to get under that sumbitch and hold it out while you let it down?
Yeah, we actually tied a rope on it so it didn't have to get under it. So they got back and they just held it out of the way enough so when I got high enough to let it swing back under. So that we took it up and took a bunch of pictures. And the winch worked really well. And thank God the brake worked really good letting it down. Worked real good. And we took a nice picture of it and blew it up and sent it to Thurston Warren of Warren Winch. He was the, he was the owner and designer of the winches and the hubs and all that. And sent him a picture. And some years later, Bob and I were up in Washington and stopped and saw him because he was always been a sponsor of ours. Every time we went to Washington, we'd stop. And he had this picture blown up really big in his office. And my Bronco hanging on a tree with his 8,000-pound winch. But that Bronco was great. Really liked it. But you know what? Got a 78 Bronco.
Yep.
He had a 400 engine in it. Didn't have differentials I wanted. The engine wasn't powerful enough. You know how it goes.
Oh, I've had 278s. The 400 sucks. Let's be real.
So I changed the gear ratio on the back. I put a Detroit locker in the back, a true locker.
Yep.
Clang, bang, all that. And I put a Detroit True Track in the front. So it was a four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And going back to the Black River, that was a Black River vehicle. I'm telling you, it had all terrains on it, kind of a smoother tread, so it wouldn't dig down the rocks. It just kind of stand on top of the rocks and get, take you where you want it to go. They drive anywhere down there, and I pull in the middle of the river. Here's a Chevy. It could be a Ford or whatever. This was a Chevy. It's sitting there. It's four-wheel drive. Right front tires down, left rear tires down, dug in. And I go pulling up. Hey, you want me to pull you out? He goes, how are you going to pull me out? I can't even drive through here. I said, I'll pull you out. So I just strap on it, and I tug him out. He says, how come you can do that? I says, here's the Midwest four-wheel drive card.
Nice.
Call me up. We'll fix you up. You need lockers, you need this, you need that. And man, we got a lot of business doing that. Just showing people what an equipped truck could do. And we used to race down there and do the deep water stuff. And it was that 78. I mean, I had quad shocks on it, and I set it up we set up like a timed course down there through the water, through the woods and back. And that thing always did very well. Very well.
I think people get so wrapped up in the story of Midwest giving birth to Bigfoot that they maybe miss what I think is one of the cooler aspects of Midwest involvement in four-wheel drives back then is the early relationships that you guys carved out with some of these very early aftermarket manufacturers. I mean, you talk about driving to Warren Winch and, seeing the owner and the founder of the company. And of course, these are all mega huge corporations now, Warren or Skyjack or Rough Country, KC Highlights, all that stuff. You guys were forming relationships with these companies and their original owners and founders in so many cases back then. It was pretty groundbreaking stuff when you really get down to it.
No, it was. And we, my philosophy has always been, make a friend, make a sale. Make a connection, make a sponsorship. You got to make a friend first. And you go these people and you treat them right and you talk to them just like we're talking. No bullshit, no high pressure sales. Just talk to them, hey, this is what I think I can do. And this is what we do. We organized four-wheel drive before the internet. We put flyers up and stuff. We had forward going to Illinois, coal mine, Sunday, 10 o'clock, be there. And they meet at a big shopping center, right? It'd be like 80 trucks.
Oh, wow.
Caravan up. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger. We would put on this stuff. And we would contact people from all over our area, no phones, no internet, nothing. Just, hey, Midwest is doing this. Hey, Midwest is doing that. And we put on this stuff and it was, we made a lot of contacts and the sponsors knew that. The sponsors aren't stupid. We had a shop, we could sell their stuff and it was selling really good. At our peak, we were selling really good out of Midwest four-wheel drive. We had Ron Magruder was the store manager and we had, full staff of people. I think we had 28 people working one time. Back in the shop, Bigfoot shop in the front and everything else and just doing everything you need to do to make the business go. But, we made really good contacts. Rough Country was one of them. Great people. We used to go out there and, the guy in Rough Country, you got to come to my house, have steak. And he was like anal about his steak, right? The fire had to be 500 degrees. It had to be this a minute and a half here, and then a 3/4 of a minute here. He took it off and cut it. And said, "What do you think?" I don't know. It's kind of tough.
Walking into a man's house, dogging him on his steak. God dang.
That's the way we were, though. We're friends.
Oh, yeah.
We're friends. We tease each other all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Pete Brown and KC Highlights.
Yeah.
Great friend. Bob Chandler and I always got along great. His wife actually kept me alive for like 2 days. I was in California. I got so sick, and I made it to Flagstaff. I was done. I was sick. I was throwing up, I was sweating. I didn't know what I had. And she come up, and they both come up and got me situated in a hotel. And she'd come up, check on me, bring me food and stuff like that, make sure, give me any medication thought I might need. But she kept me alive for 2 days. She didn't have to do that.
No,
You know?
we're glad she did.
She's the owner's wife, but she was a very caring person. Didn't want me to die. Yes. But those kind of relationships you make with your sponsors. Before I left Bigfoot, I had CEOs' phone numbers in my phone.
Yep.
I'd call them up. Hey, how's your dog doing? Hey, you still working that boat? Stuff like that. And just not talk anything about Bigfoot or sponsorship or anything. Just talk to them as people. And they got to know you as a person. And this person wanted this, and okay, that person's going to get it. You know,
sometimes it's a shame nowadays that everything is so, it's electronically driven, whether it's, KPIs with interaction on social media or impressions or just, it's so, I sound really old when I put it this way. Business relationships are so computer and data driven now that I feel like we've lost a little of the soul that came with those relationships back then that might have even been handshake. Who knows if Warren ever even had a contract with Bigfoot? You guys could just phone up and tell them what you need, and boom, it shows up on a pallet a couple days later.
That's about what happened, dude. I'm telling you, just like that. And I'm a dinosaur. So in this day and age, I'd be really, you put me in front of somebody, I can do all right. You put me on a computer in front of somebody, I'm a dinosaur. And that's, but even back when I was finishing up doing all that, people were asking, okay, how's that move the meter?
Right.
How to do what I'm doing with you, move my meter. So we had to start keeping track of stuff more diligently than we ever had to show them that, they are getting this bang for the buck. So we kept, road miles, impressions, impressions were a big deal, TV impressions and all that. And we actually even paid for some different companies to record that for us. It became a different world.
Totally.
I couldn't have been near as effective in this world as I was back then.
So you talk about worlds changing, you sell your stake in Midwest, before the end of the 70s, and you take a few years off and come back, around 81, 82. And that's when the truck has a name now. It's not a nickname anymore. That truck is Bigfoot now. And, you talk about Bob's done a few car crushes and things like that. And, we don't need to get into the nuts and bolts of the chronology too much, but as you're coming back to Bigfoot now, this is a whole nother ballgame that you're stepping into, and a lot of responsibility. And so now the shop is on Lindbergh Boulevard, not the most famous one yet. They haven't moved up to 6311 Lindbergh yet, but they're down, a little further, closer to the airport. But you guys build Bigfoot 2. And you start taking over some pretty serious driving responsibilities. So you're now in showbiz. Tell us what it was like a little bit, stepping away from a regular job, let's say, and then now you're touring. You're in showbiz. What was that like?
Well, okay. Like I said, I grew up in a crowd and I love people. So for me, that part was easy. Going out with reputation, like you said, we went out with a mandate of Bob Chandler's Bigfoot. It's not the driver. I'm nondescript. Mm-hmm. For many years, nobody knew what a big name of Bigfoot driver. Hardly. It was pushing the brand, get the Bigfoot brand out there. And that's what we did. And back then, it was easy. It was fun. I didn't have to hardly do shit, tell you the truth. They put 2 cars out there, and you barely crawled up on them, raised the hood, waved to people, crawled off, and signed 1 million autographs. That was the most important thing, is your contact with the people. You did a little show, but then you really made it. You grabbed the people on a personal level. You signed everything they had. You talked to them and everything, so they endeared themselves to the truck. They want to come back and see the truck again.
Yeah.
So for many years, it was I was halftime show. It was show business, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I'm sorry, but even with everything that's going on today, it's still show business.
Oh, totally.
That has not changed one bit. It's just magnified. But back then, it was show business, and it was fun to do. I worked with SRO Pace and all that stuff. It was a traveling group of people. I got to know all these people as family.
Mm-hmm.
My wife, we raised the kids on the road. Kate was raised on the road. She'd go to a restaurant and she'd know what she wanted to eat. She'd get tired. She'd sleep right there. She could sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
This little girl. And, but she knew everybody and everybody knew her. It's like everybody helped raise her. All these pulling guys, she'd come walking up, hey, what's going on? And they just melt. Oh,
Yeah.
this little girl, they grab that little girl and hug her. But it was a family, a very large pulling group. And it was great. It was actually fun to go to the next show with them.
So
And once again, back then it wasn't hard.
Right.
It was hard in the fact you got to keep the truck running because they were still fragile back then.
Mm-hmm.
They broke pretty damn easy. And so you had to watch what you did and you had to keep up on all the truck maintenance and everything else. But as far as, of course, the travel never got any easier, packing up and going. You get where you got to go, eating 3 meals a day in a restaurant. That kind of sucked. Missed that home cooking. But and we started getting motorhomes and stuff like that. So we got a little bit of home cooking there. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the early days a lot.
So Kate, when did she come along? Remind me of that. And what was, as somebody that was a Bigfoot driver with a wife that was home expecting at one point in my career, I know how I felt then, but I had the internet and cell phones and easier ways to stay in touch with my wife. It was probably a little harder back then. So what was it like for you and Julie, knowing you were expecting, your first kiddo and you were out on the road all the time?
Well, she came along 5/8, 1980. Now,
Okay, so not quite on the road yet then.
Year and a half.
yeah, a year and a half before I got on there. But
Gotcha.
back to communications aspect. Oh man, this is really dating me. Huh? This is real dinosaur stuff here. I mean, I leave on a trip, go to California, be out there a month and a half. I write my wife letters,
Yeah.
put a stamp on them, and mail them back. And she find out where I'm going to be, and she would write me a letter and send it to a hotel and say, hold for me, right? I get there and I get a couple letters. And that's how we communicated
Wow.
for a long time. And then the advent of 800 numbers, I got an 800 number. Man, I thought I bit a fat hog in the ass. This is good. Man, I just go in every phone, I punch in, and she'd answer up. It was great. That was total communications there, man. That was a big step.
There's a group of 80s kids like me shitting their pants right now, knowing we could have called 1-800 Kramer to talk to you in the 80s.
I wasn't hard to get a hold of.
Oh man, that's great.
But it wasn't me. Back then, like I say, we pushed the brand. We didn't push the driver.
Right.
Now, people endear themselves to drivers after they've seen them a few times and talked to them. Yeah, everybody got to know who I was, but it was never pushed by Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And simple mandate, push the brand. We need to get this brand going, and the brand took off. I mean, I think myself and all the rest of the Bigfoot drivers did a very good job of doing that. We were so lucky to get the right kind of people in the right places to do the right thing to help launch this.
Well, speaking of help launching things, I'd like to pick your brain real quick on what it was like when Ford stepped in, probably around 83, 84, I imagine, without the notes right in front of me. And so you start getting some actual corporate involvement with Ford Motor Company. And we've seen the pictures of Edsel II riding with Bob over cars at the Silverdome and things like that. How exciting was that to feel like, wow, we actually have OEM, support now to some degree. And that really seems like kind of took off with like Bigfoot 3 being able to have a brand new, contemporary body style on a new truck and all that. What was that kind of like, when you guys kind of hit it big time there?
That was very uplifting. I'm telling you, that was like, wow, we made a giant step here. But also came with a lot of responsibility. You got a
Sure.
corporate sponsor now. You got to look good all the time, and we always try to do that anyway. But you really kind of had to sharpen up, and the trucks are cleaner, and you try harder. And I did shows at Pontiac Silverdome. I think every show up there for Bigfoot for years, and that was Ford's corporate town. So all the big wigs at Ford somewhere were in the audience for one of those shows. So you had to be on your game. And luckily, the Silverdome I was golden there. I could hardly screw up. I mean, knock on wood, wide, luck, whatever. But the truck handled good, and I seemed to do a good job up there. And the Ford people just loved it, you know.
Yeah.
But with Ford came, some tractor trailers, some tractors, some big equipment came on dollar leases and stuff like that, which they do, and engine blocks, some cylinder heads if we need it. So we got some parts from them, but just my God, look at the whole display program. How many Ford dealers are they? They wanted trucks at their display. They knew that Bigfoot would attract people and get them interested in a pickup truck. You go to Silverdome show, and 80% of the cars out there are trucks,
Yeah.
pickup trucks. That could be some Chevys and some Fords, but you know what? The Chevy guys are looking at the Ford. The Ford's doing good. He might change his mind.
Sure.
You don't know. You don't know what plants that seed. But yeah, it was great representing them. Got to do some cool stuff. We're at Ford corporate headquarters doing display on Friday afternoon. And Edsel walked up. He goes, "Can you run over pickup trucks?" I go, "Yeah, I'm sure I can." He says, "Can you do it tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock at the Silverdome?" This is the afternoon. It's like 3 o'clock, right? I go, "Yeah." I'm thinking, God damn, he's going to buy a couple of new trucks or what, Which they can do.
Yep.
So anyway, he puts out the word. I got the truck in Silverdome 8 o'clock, and here's 2 Chevy trucks. Okay. And I said, drop the tailgates on them and go over the back to the front. But they weren't brand new. They looked brand new. I mean, they were touched up and polished. They looked like newer trucks. So anyway, I crushed them for an in-house video. This did not go public. It was for a sales video in-house. And I heard it was pretty successful. People liked it. But stuff like that would just pop up. And these people, when they want to do something, they get it done.
They're motivated.
They're motivated, yeah.
They got that FU money to,
Yes,
to
exactly.
pull that stuff off. So, kind of coming back to the thing about, Kate growing up on the road, and then Russ comes along. Russ and I are pretty similar in age, I think, right? I'm 41. Is that about where Russ is?
Yes.
November.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
and Julie, feel free to chime in on this too. So I'll re-ask my Kate question about Russ. What was it like, being on the road, knowing you had yet another arrival to the family, waiting for you at home to come out, and how did you balance all of that with, and we'll touch on the performance side of Bigfoot at that same period of time in the mid 80s and how that was exploding. But what was it like knowing you were going to be a dad again, but being on the road the whole time, it seemed like?
Hey, knowing I was going to be a dad again was cool. I like
Yeah.
that. Liked everything about that. But then when Kate got older and started doing, the school and stuff like that, then she couldn't travel. And Russ came along, that just nixed it till the summer. Summertime, they would both travel. Once you got a little bit older.
Not much. I'm actually going to turn this around because I got a whole story that goes along with
right.
this. Okay, here we go.
We
All
have to
right.
do an official welcome. Botttom Dead Center,
Thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen, please welcome Julie Kramer. Yes,
Yay.
Yeah, you're in deep shit now.
Okay,
that's all
so here
right.
it
We
comes.
came for it.
Okay, Kate was a year and a half old when he started traveling with Bigfoot. And for a while, I stayed home with the kid, and pretty soon, once, like he said, the motorhome started. It's like, I think we could probably go with you more, So I traveled with Kate, and we did have a great time. She saw a lot of great things. But when I would traveled with him while I was pregnant with Russ for a while. And a story that goes along with that one is he was filming a Ford commercial on the top of Magic Mountain in California. And I thought that I was off, out of the offset, out of the picture far enough. And I hear the director say, "Would somebody get that lady with the 1.5 kids off of the set?"
Be like, hey, buddy.
So to get me out of the way, the next day, they said, "Oh, you don't need to stay up here. Magic Mountain Six Flags is at the bottom of the hill down here. So we'll send a car and you and your daughter can go to the amusement park tomorrow." So I thought, okay, somebody's going to drive up. Well, the next morning I step out of the trailer and there is a long black limo waiting at the top of this mountain to take us down to the amusement park. He drops us off right at the gate. "What time would you like us to pick you up?" I said, "We'll probably be finished by 4 o'clock." I walk out at 4 o'clock. There's my limo waiting for me to take me back up to the top of the mountain. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool lifestyle. That was not typical, however. So fast forward, that was probably July. Russ was born in November. And that's when the brakes are on. Mama doesn't travel anymore. I did not realize that I was really still jealous, I guess. But I went on these shopping sprees. He would not even be out of town, and Mama was out spending money.
Yeah.
Like it first started, I just walking through the department store, and Macy's used to be Famous Bar, and they've got their jewelry department where you have to walk by it, and there's sparkling diamond necklace, little pendant. I think I need that. So that was my first purchase. And then, I started with some household stuff, a little bit of furniture here and there. And, the Corvette that you all saw drive underneath the Bigfoot truck.
Yeah.
Okay, that one was a surprise too. He left town on a Friday evening and he came home Sunday morning and he says, "So whose car?" He says, "Who's here?" And I said, "What do you mean, who's here?" "Well, whose car is that in the driveway?" And I go, "Mine." So yes, I bought that Corvette while he was out of town. He, I didn't really care, but he also says, "Well, you're going to drive that piece of shit. They ride like a log wagon."
It's a piece of crap. It wasn't a new one.
Yeah.
Anything that could leak water leaked water.
Yeah.
I
When
think
it
I
quit
rebuilt that
leaking, you
car.
knew you had to fill it back up then.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
anyway, from that point on, pretty much Russ did not get the road life that Kate had. She had a great time. She grew up meeting and making friends all over the place. She's a very, well, you know Kate. I mean, she's
yeah.
very outgoing, as is Russ. But they just grew up so entirely different. So anyway, that's my mom's story. I'll turn the thing back over to Jim, and away you go. Okay.
Well, I just want to say, first off, we
Yes,
thank you
sure.
for that because we love that story. Second, when Matt and I are together on the road and we're having a rough day, we call that retail therapy, when you got to go out and do a little shopping. So we feel you on that. I think moms everywhere probably feel you on that. But the Corvette thing cracks me up because, we're recording here at the start of December and we're seeing all these TV commercials of people surprising their spouses with brand new cars that they've recklessly bought without permission. So I have to admit, that's pretty goddamn funny. To imagine him rolling back in on a Sunday afternoon and wait a minute, who's the vet?
Yep, it happened.
That's awesome.
All right. Okay,
All right, back to Jim. There we go.
Yeah.
That is
I retired
that's
8
brilliant.
years ago, and I could have retired 10 years ago if she hadn't bought all that stuff.
Our last ride shirts would have been from 2013 instead of
There you go.
2023.
Yeah, got it.
No, that's great. So the Corvette is a great segue, of course, into you being seen multiple times driving the car under one of the Bigfoot trucks with the 10-foot tires, but then most famously, I would say it was done by Jan Gabriel and Claude Akins in
Yep.
New Orleans at the Superdome when you had number 4 there for Return of the Monster Trucks. Now, before we get into a little bit of the weeds on that particular show, I would like to briefly touch on changing the tires back and forth from regular 66s to the 10-foot tires right in the middle of the goddamn show sometimes. How scary was that, and how much work was that? And I say scary because you taught me how to do it on 5 as it sits now, but you guys were doing it on conventional Bigfoot trucks with wheel adapters and things like that. So how labor intensive must that have been during a show, if nothing else, to change those tires out?
It was definitely. And you're talking about, I think, the Hoosier Dome. We did it. We went from small tires to big tires, or vice versa. But you just got over the side, and the show was going on, and everybody was watching us.
Yeah.
I swear, you look in the crowd, and everybody's turned this way, watching us change these stupid-ass tires. But it was shaky back then. We didn't have this stuff perfected. This when we first started putting them on, had these adapters that was almost 4 feet long, right?
Yeah.
To get them out away from the truck. And picking them up with forklifts in different ways, and a different way each time for a while till we figured it out. But you're trying to do it quick, which is never good for safety.
Right.
Never. Quick is not good. And luckily, we didn't have any mishaps. we had a couple of crews drop a couple of tires after that, but anytime we changed them during the show, things went pretty well, and we changed them out. But no, it's very labor intensive. But man, we went to a show like that. We took 7, 8 guys.
Oh yeah.
We had guys running around in Bigfoot monkey suits like all over. Look at that group of blue over there.
Yeah.
And I say monkey suits. These guys are great. Everybody. There's only a handful of people who work for Bigfoot that I wouldn't take back today. I mean, they were just hard workers. They came there and they knew what they had to do, and they saw the people and they knew how important their job was, and we got things done. And but yeah, I mean, why would you do that? Why would you change from big to small? These promoters, I want to do this, and you're trying to keep promoters happy, so they hire you again. So you hem haul around and you try to talk them out of it. No, I really think this would be cool. Okay. So you end up doing it.
Shit. I swear a promoter's favorite thing in the world is to watch monster truck guys take tires on and off.
Whatever they can,
whatever they can do to make us do that. We've seen photos and videos both of like at the Silverdome in Pontiac or Soldier Field in Chicago, different places where you guys had a trailer that normally hauled the big tires on it, and there was a crane apparatus on it to kind of give you a hand, and it looked like you actually had to back the truck up onto the trailer on little tires, and then the crane would help you change the tires out. So you guys kind of figured out a sort of an independent way of doing it yourself, to where you maybe weren't having to rely on an unskilled or just unfamiliar equipment operator to give you a hand. And then I think that yellow crane ended up making it to the shop floor at 6311 eventually.
It's tire changer.
Yeah.
But okay, you go back to being independent. The promoter wants you to do this, but promoter don't want to pay for get a lull or a big forklift in there. They don't want to pay for that. Well, can't you guys do that? So we had to figure out how to do that. And one thing about us, back at the shop, we had some pretty ingenious guys, like Ken Kelly, he was there, and Roy Hoosier and Jay Diekman and Bob Pelframe and all these old guys. They'd figured out, this is what you got to do. And we'd try it there at the shop, make sure we could do it. But we just had a great bunch of guys pulling in the same direction.
Totally.
And this is what I want to do. Well, that's stupid. You can't do that. And about a half hour later, we got this figured out.
Yep, we did it.
We can do that. And that's the way it went. It took all of us, and everything we did out on the road with trucks, some good, some bad stuff. Everything we did, we could not have done it without the group of people we had working behind the scenes. And we had some great people back there.
Absolutely. Matt, you had something?
Yeah, I was saying, I know from my personal experience, I can only imagine you guys doing things for the first time, like those 10-foot tires back and forth. You're doing something you don't want to do, and you're thinking to yourself, man, if we do this, they're just going to ask us to do it again.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yep.
You are so right. And you mentioned Soldier Field. That was the
Yeah.
first time I'm walking up the ramp at Soldier Field to go out to get something. I hear this woof. I go, oh shit, they dropped a tire.
Oh boy.
And I turn around and I yell, is everybody okay? They said, yeah, the chain came loose. It's all right, pick it up. Another time happened in Louisiana, walking back to the trailer, woof. It's all that air
Ooh.
rushes out.
Man.
When that 10-foot tire comes down,
Yep.
all that big volume of air rushes up to the center. It makes a hell of a whoosh sound. It's very distinct. And the dust flies. It happened in Louisiana too. Luckily, it didn't hurt anybody or anything. It's just, that's the only two times we dropped them though. They're big. The way you had to hook them up wasn't the safest thing. I think OSHA would have threw us all in jail. Threw the key away if they ever saw us. You can't do that. You can't do, yeah, we can. But no,
Yeah.
you can't. Yeah, we can. We do. but yeah. And to this day, I mean, we got it pretty well perfected now. I mean, we can do it relatively in 2 hours now instead of longer. Take your time. And two guys that do it in a couple hours, no problem. One guy on the low, the other guy on the ground. The guy gets off the low, helps the guy on the ground once in a while. And it's a procedure. And we would take it to Hot August nights about 3-4 years in a row. Took it out there in Reno. And I went to drive underneath the big Reno arch.
Mm-hmm.
And I never could get city council to let me do that.
Oh.
They, funny story, I'm sitting on the curb. And this guy comes and sits next to me. We're talking about some cars and introduced himself as Aaron Hagar, Sammy Hagar's kid.
Oh wow.
And I told him, man, I really want to drive underneath that arch. She said, that'd be cool. I said, I know these city council guys. I'll see if I can't get that done for you. Well, he tried, but he couldn't get it done. He said, it's not going to fit. I measured it. It'll fit. I got 1.5 feet. It'll fit. I know, right in the middle. I go right through. And I never did get to do that, but that would have just killed everybody. We drove Bigfoot 8 through the parade.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they had the old cars and stuff had a parade.
Yep.
And actually got to drive number 8 through there. Very last minute, sponsor goes, hey, we'll put Bigfoot 8 in the parade. Now, okay, we're at elevation out there.
Yeah.
We're set up to run at low elevation, right? So I'm up elevation. We didn't have time to lean it out or nothing.
Oh,
We
man.
sprinted through the parade and this sputtering, but we made it through the parade, burned a tank of fuel.
Yeah.
It just blowed out of the tailpipe, burned a tank of fuel in about 1.5 miles, 2 miles.
Probably kept it from getting too warm though, at least if it was running fat.
Yeah, you drained the oil and half a tank of fuel was in the crankcase,
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where last minute you got to do it, right? You want to please the sponsor. But we didn't have time. We barely had enough time to start it and move it in position and run the parade.
So when it comes to saying no to a sponsor, that's not something that you
It's
typically want to do.
No, you don't want to do that.
But when it comes to racing Bigfoot number 4 side by side against 7 other top trucks in 1986 back there at the Superdome for Return of the Monster Trucks, you and I have gotten to have this conversation, offline together before, but what a pivotal show, right? In the building of Bigfoot's brand, in your identity as a monster truck driver. I think that's when we really started to pay attention as a sport and also as a fan base to some of the people driving the trucks, because that show did highlight everybody as drivers and personalities beyond just the trucks. But you don't want to say no to that opportunity, and you don't want to say no to putting it all on the line to win that race. So, without going round by round necessarily on it, tell me a little bit about what you guys felt when you walked into the building and saw this big, elaborate obstacle course, something you'd never really ran before, and then take us through that final round against Jeff Dane and Awesome Kong and kind of what that meant to you both in terms of protecting Bigfoot's stake in the battle between Bigfoot and Kong, and also, your unwillingness to compromise it all and to do whatever it took to win that night.
It was a big night, yeah. And I don't know, I don't get nervous much, by that time, been around a lot of horns, man. This came later. We did a lot of shows and stuff like that. Been around a lot of situations, but this is pretty big. This was different, And Fred Schaefer was there, not as a competitor, but he was there. If I remember, yeah, he was there, and he had to pull the sled, unhook, and then finish the obstacle course. Well, the unhooking part was dangerous. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you get pinch a guy pretty. You had to be very careful about that. Make sure the sled was stopped, his truck was stopped, and your guy come out and waves you on before you took off. But we'd make a pass, and I'd make a pass, and then Awesome Kong would make a pass. And Bob Chandler says, he beat you by this many seconds. He's faster than you. He's faster than you. You got to go faster. I go, yeah, okay. And I'm thinking, well, I didn't have to go fast because the guy I just ran wasn't, he didn't pull the sled well. I was well ahead. I just wanted to finish the race. Didn't want to break nothing, right? So I come through and make another pass. He's fine. No, Awesome Kong's still faster than you. You got to go faster. And Kong was the guy to look at. He had that big V12. He could yank that sled. He could go, and he was having a good night. And this is funny because I just came back from the Hall of Fame. Who did I just talk to? Jeff Dane.
Yeah.
What Jeff Dane and I just talked about last week, a week and a half ago. We talked about that run.
That's great.
He goes, man, I says, Jeff's talking to me. He says, I knew I could beat you pulling the sled. If I could get you there and get you around the corner, I had a good chance. He says, but man, you hung with me pulling that sled. You were right there and you came across that hill and you didn't ever slow down. I had to slow down for the cars because his front end was pretty light.
Mm-hmm.
The motor's in the back. And the front end was pretty light. And he said, I knew I'd bounce up, but I thought maybe you'd slow down for the cars too, which I did.
Right.
But by that time we got to that show, I was running cars pretty fast at other shows. I was hitting them a lot faster than just running up to them and jumping on top of them. I was driving through them.
Mm.
And anyway, I did that technique there and ended up finishing and winning the race. But it's just funny. Jeff and I are sitting there talking. His point of view and my point of view, we had kind of the same thing. He was analyzing me and I was analyzing him.
Yeah.
And we had a great conversation, I'm telling you.
Would have loved to have recorded that. I mean, that's spectacular.
I tell you, he's age heals all. Any animosity kind of filters away, which it should.
Yep.
There shouldn't be any animosity at all. And like Fred came up a couple years back, and he was there, and him and I talked for an hour.
Mm.
Fred wouldn't even give me the time of day because I was the guy shooting him in the ass all the time, and he didn't like it. And he hated Bob Chandler, right? And they didn't like each other. But I'm not Bob Chandler, and time heals all. And Fred and I got along fine, and then Jeff and I, same thing. So yeah, it's all fun and games. It's a sport, and there shouldn't be any animosity. And I'm happy. That's why I like to go up to the Hall of Fame because you can see all these drivers, and you can talk, and everybody leaves their attitude at the door.
Yep.
And you come in, you're just people kind of remembering things back and forth. It's a great time. But I think that was a big show. I guess it was classified the first monster truck race. Is that right?
So it gets labeled as the first ever side-by-side monster truck obstacle course race, and there's instances at other shows where trucks look like they were probably racing against each other, but as far as let's call it a national event, that was really the first and the biggest of its kind as far as we've really been able to pin down. And I have a funny story about that I want to throw in real quick. So when you hired me on at Bigfoot, and it was one of my first weeks there, I wasn't yet on the road, and you had a spare ticket to the Cardinals game you and the fam were going to, and you're like, Mr. Kyle, why don't you roll out with us, go to the Cardinals game tonight? I was like, man, that'd be great. I don't have anything going on. So I went with you guys downtown to my first Cards game. And, you talked earlier about with the sponsors, they just want to be treated like a human being, right? So lifelong fanboy like me, I'm just trying to treat you like my buddy Jim that took me to a baseball game and not bug you with all the nerdy monster truck talk that we're bugging you with today. But you must have sensed I was sitting there just vibrating, wanting to pick your brain about some of the stuff. And I think we made it to the 7th inning stretch, and you looked over at me and you're like, all right, go ahead. I know you want to ask me some questions. Go ahead, ask me some questions. And I said, yeah, I do. And that was the show I went to straight away because it was certainly the most pivotal, show in my childhood becoming a fan. I can't speak for Matt, but, I'm sure he probably feels similar. But there's a whole generation of us fans that were impacted just by the results of that show. I mean, if there was anything that made me a Ford guy like I am today, it was just watching Bigfoot win that race. So I think it was a pretty big deal, and I'm glad you gave me some time during the seventh inning stretch. I think I might have made a joke, and this is purely just Bigfoot, fanboy thinking it was purely a joke. But I looked at you and I said, "Did you realize the pressure you had riding on your shoulders like that, man? It was like the Battle of Britain. We couldn't let Germany win, So,
Cal, like I said, as the night went on and watching people drive, and you try to study the trucks you're against.
right.
And I studied Kong a lot. I've watched some videos. I watched how he does, how his truck reacts. I know the engine's in the back, but the front wheels and two-wheel drive the front. So it's set up backwards. And I knew all the weight was back there. And I knew every time he hit, all you saw was black smoke come out. His carburetors are bleeding over really bad. So I started checking all this out, checking these little boxes of what's going to screw him up. This is going on in my head.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pressure on me, but I felt if I could hang with him and get unhooked from the sled, I had a really good chance. And he beat me in the sled pull, give you that, but I wasn't too far behind.
Yeah.
And then coming around, and the truck acted like I thought it would. He slid in the front, it popped up, and all the carburetors over flooded, and he had coughed a little bit before he took off. And so, the pressure was on. It was, and the most pressure came from Bob Chandler.
Right.
Jumping up down. You got to beat him. You got to win this. You got to do this. So it's Bob. I'm doing my best here.
Yeah. Well, and you think about the early round draws you had, all due respect to those guys, but their trucks weren't on par with Bigfoot 4.
No,
so you were
they
running
weren't.
accordingly. And you taught me, and you've taught probably every Bigfoot driver you've ever mentored that, run accordingly as the night goes on. If you know a guy's got an underpowered truck or a wounded truck or something like that, you don't need to go out and set the world on fire necessarily every round. The goal is to win at the end of the night, and you can accomplish that sometimes better by maybe not using up your stuff early in the night.
Well, that's exactly right. And you can't win if you're not in the finals.
Right.
Can't win. So you try to save your equipment and everything else. And I had a pretty good feeling about the last race because of what I just told you. I kind of analyzed his truck. I knew his weak points, and if I could play to some of those, I had a pretty good chance of winning. And luckily I did. Things worked out for me. The unhook went good. The truck ran good, and got over the cars really well. And so, it could have went a lot of ways that night, but it went my way, and I'm thankful for that. And I know Bob Chandler's really thankful for that.
There's no way to know what impact that did or didn't have necessarily on Bigfoot's trajectory, but it certainly didn't hurt, for you guys to win that event. It would have been detrimental had you not. But inquiring minds like Matt and I want to know, in a dry city like New Orleans, how did you guys celebrate the win after the show? Was there any small chance of a party back at the RV or the hotel later?
I don't recall an accident, honest to God.
Oh, wow.
I think we packed up and had to be over in Florida.
Oh,
At another show. I had to be in Florida, and I don't remember. If there was ever a time for a party, I would have been all up for that.
Yeah.
But I do not remember ever having one there at that point because it had to be somewhere else. But I remember driving to Florida. Sometimes you have a chance to go over things in your mind that happened previously. When you get time, you can really analyze them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driving to Florida thinking, wow, that was kind of a big deal. I feel pretty good about that as a person. I felt pretty good as a driver. I thought, man, God, I got lucky and pulled that off, And I went to Florida fired up. I wanted to get in the truck and run some more.
Yeah.
So I think the next 5 shows after that, I was in like a race mode. I didn't care who I was running against. I was running hard. Boom, boom, boom. It took me a while to kind of settle down. It did. It fired me up. It really did.
That's awesome. So obviously, like we talked about earlier, Matt pointed out, once a promoter sees you do it once and it works, they want you to do it again. So the landscape now very quickly shifts from, exhibition or timed run stuff to monster truck racing, and you start putting 4 through its paces, and you kind of find the limits of it. And then Bigfoot, you guys build number 6, and you start finding limits on that truck, and then you build 7. So in kind of a nutshell, going through the 80s there, how hard was that on you guys to keep up with the competition, but how hard was it on you physically too, to start pushing these trucks to just immense new heights that you never even thought just a few years before you'd be hitting?
I'm 6 foot tall. I used to be 6'4".
That about says it.
Wow.
You know, you got pounded pretty hard. 6, 4. I love 4. I won't say nothing bad about 4. 6 was a lead sled.
4 will
Okay.
come find you if you say anything bad about it.
I won't
that is
do
the
it.
Chuck Norris of monster trucks.
I won't. I will not do that.